So, in structural engineering, there's this really fascinating kind of counterintuitive principle.
Oh, about rigidity.
Yeah, exactly. Like, if you attempt to build this massive bridge entirely out of the absolute strongest, most rigid steel you can find, and you just bolt everything down tightly so it can't move at all.
Right, it's actually a terrible idea.
It is. That bridge will eventually just tear itself apart. I mean, the wind, the ambient vibration from traffic, even just the shifting earth beneath it.
Yeah, they all exert these massive forces that rigid materials simply cannot absorb.
Exactly. So to actually survive, a bridge requires softer, like flexible, deliberately weaker materials built right into its joints. It literally has to be able to sway.
Which is such a wild concept when you think about it.
It is. But what's really crazy is that it turns out human beings operate on the exact same mechanical principle.
We really do. I mean, we often assume that resilience means, fortifying our own positions.
Right, building walls.
Exactly. We surround ourselves with people who think exactly like us, and we build these highly rigid intellectual structures.
But then, the moment any real pressure is applied, like a crisis at work or a huge shift to the economy or even just a personal loss,
that rigidity becomes our biggest vulnerability. We just lack the flexible joints to absorb the shock.
Which brings us to today. Welcome to this special Living Well, Living Rich deep dive. And our mission today for you, the listener, is to examine a piece of source material that tackles this exact concept.
Yeah, how we actually build those flexible joints into our own lives.
Right, and we are looking at this beautifully deceptive book. It's titled The Bridge Between Two Islands, and it's written by Dr. Shu-Chen Hu.
And you say deceptive because on the surface, it really presents itself as a children's book.
Totally. It looks like a kid's book.
Yeah.
But beneath that really accessible narrative, there is this profound, super pragmatic framework for how we get unstuck in our adult lives.
By, intentionally colliding with worldviews that are completely opposite to our own.
Yeah. Have you ever felt totally stuck in a rut, just staring at a blank page or a blank screen, just waiting for inspiration?
I think we all have, right?
Oh, for sure. And today's deep dive uses the story of an artist and an engineer to show us that the best way to get unstuck is often to connect with someone entirely different from yourself.
That format is so intentional, too. I mean, we tend to associate deep life wisdom with these dense, impenetrable, philosophical texts.
Oh, yeah, like a massive textbook.
Right. But often, the most sophisticated psychological insights, they actually require the simplest delivery mechanisms to bypass our defenses.
So the author uses this foundational narrative of an artist and an engineer just to bypass our adult cynicism.
Exactly.
Well, before we look at the story of the bridge itself, we have to understand the architects who built the foundation for this book, because the author's real-life philosophy perfectly mirrors the story's message of connection.
It really does. It's a fascinating background.
Okay, let's unpack this for a second. Dr. Shu-Chen Hu holds a PhD from the University of Bristol in the UK, right? And she is the founder of Kokoshungsan Ltd., which is the publisher behind this work.
Right, a modern, global, digital education brand.
Yeah, but the origin of this brand doesn't start in some sterile Western academic laboratory. It's actually rooted in a long-established herbal shop in Taiwan.
Oh, the Yongsheng Herbal Pharmacy.
Exactly. Run by the founder's parents, Mr. Hu Shu-san and Mrs. Peng Kai-feng. They deeply embody these values of care, integrity, and just a profound respect for learning.
What's fascinating here is the juxtaposition of those two environments. That's where the real value lies.
Oh, so?
Well, you have the rigorous, highly structured, deeply analytical world of a British doctoral program, right?
No.
And it's intersecting with the holistic, traditional, generational practice of Eastern herbalism.
Oh, I see. It's a literal bridging of completely disparate paradigms.
Exactly.
It's like, think about an herbalist. They don't just hand you a single powerful plant to cure an ailment. They rely on synergy.
Right, the blending.
Yeah. You might take a root that is incredibly effective, but maybe slightly toxic on its own, and you brew it alongside a leaf that neutralizes that specific toxicity while actually enhancing the cure.
The healing doesn't come from one ingredient.
No, it comes from the friction and the ultimate balance between those opposing properties. And the publisher took that exact chemical mechanism and applied it to education.
And they state their operational thesis very clearly, which is small ideas, understood clearly, can create lasting change.
I love that. Small ideas.
Right, because this sets the stakes for our listener today. We are looking for a small, simple idea in this book that holds the power to change our destiny.
Which ties perfectly to their motto, Knowledge changes destiny. Education changes the world.
It's taking the rigid structures of Western academic thought and brewing them with the accessible storytelling of their heritage.
And that philosophy of blending two completely opposing elements to create a cure brings us directly into the plot mechanism of the book itself.
Right, the story kicks off by forcing a collision of worldviews right from the start.
Yeah, so we meet Isla. She is an artist living on Haven Isle. And her entire world revolves around aesthetic observation. Like, she loves the colors that dance across the sky at sunrise.
But we find her in this state of creative paralysis.
Yeah, her canvas is just completely blank.
It's essentially the psychological equivalent of an agricultural monoculture.
Oh, that's a good way to put it.
Yeah, if a farmer plants the exact same crop in the exact same soil year after year, eventually the soil is totally depleted of nutrients.
Nothing will grow.
Exactly. And Isla is isolated on her island, entirely contained within her own perspective. When you only ever pull from your own internal worldview, eventually you just run out of material.
The mind just goes blank. So what's the cure for monoculture? Cross-pollination.
Right.
Isla steps out onto the sand and spots a lone figure near a workshop. This is Lucas. And he is an engineer, completely surrounded by blueprints and technical sketches.
So she walks up to him and she asks this really brilliant question.
Yeah, she doesn't ask, like, who are you or where are you from? She asks, what are you building?
Which is so key because it focuses on purpose rather than identity. By asking about his work, she bypasses all that tribalism that usually keeps people stuck on their separate islands.
And Lucas explains he is designing a bridge. Now, Isla immediately sees past the utilitarian function of the blueprints. She realizes that a bridge could bring more than just travel, right? It could bring friendship.
This dynamic is so crucial. It's that classic left brain versus right brain contrast.
It reminds me of building a house. Like, you desperately need the architect and the engineer so the walls don't collapse on you.
Obviously, yeah.
But you need the artist to make it a home you actually want to live in.
The engineer provides the how, the physics, the structure, the ability to span the water, but the artist provides the why.
The human connection.
Right. It's a masterclass in why interdisciplinary thinking is essential for living richly. Without the engineer, the artist is just staring at the water, wishing she could cross.
Yeah, but without the artist, the engineer's just building this cold piece of infrastructure that literally no one feels compelled to use.
Exactly. It's like metallurgy, you know?
So, like bronze.
Yeah, if you try to build an empire out of copper, it fails. It's too soft, it bends under pressure.
And if you try to build it out of tin, it shatters because it's way too brittle.
But you melt them down, force them to bond, and you get bronze. An alloy that's exponentially stronger than the sum of its parts. Isla is the copper, Lucas is the tin.
Okay, but acknowledging that we need different perspectives is the easy part, right? Like, every corporate retreat features some seminar on the value of diverse thinking.
Right, everyone loves the idea of it.
But actually doing the gritty, uncomfortable work of combining those worlds is entirely different. Let's look at how they actually build this bridge.
This is where the real-life wisdom of the book shines.
Yeah, because Isla brings her paint box, and she decorates Lucas's blueprints with soft blues and bright yellows. And she carves what the text calls living railings out of driftwood shaped like seashells.
And paints them with sunrise scenes.
Wait, I have to push back slightly on the design here. A driftwood railing on a massive steel bridge. Isn't that structurally counterintuitive?
From a purely utilitarian standpoint, it's a total nightmare.
Right. You're bolting rotting driftwood to structural steel. They have completely different rates of thermal expansion, different lifespans. It makes no sense.
The steel alone is sufficient to get a human body from point A to point B.
Right. But then I realized the text calls it a living railing. It symbolizes that human connection requires something organic, warm, and slightly imperfect.
Yes. Layered right over the rigid, cold facts of the steel.
Exactly. A purely utilitarian bridge communicates pure efficiency. It doesn't communicate welcome.
The inefficiency of the art is what actually creates the efficiency of human connection. The driftwood makes the cold reality of the steel approachable.
And the physical work isn't easy. The text mentions that they laugh when splinters make them yelp, and they cheer when the very first steel beam fits perfectly into place.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, the splinters are the critical metaphor here.
Connection and learning aren't always painless.
No, not at all. Building a bridge to someone else's worldview comes with minor discomforts. The splinters.
Yeah, if we pull that into an adult context, those splinters are like the ego-bruising moments in our daily lives.
Absolutely.
It's that moment in a boardroom when a data scientist bluntly tells a creative director that their highly emotional ad campaign is failing every metric.
Or in a marriage where you realize your partner's financial logic is completely foreign to your own anxiety about money.
It stings and makes you want to just pull your hand away.
And most people quit at the splinter stage. The discomfort of having our worldview challenged is so acute that we just drop the wood, retreat to our respective islands, and declare the other person impossible to work with.
Which is such a shame.
It is, but the story argues that you have to consciously endure the splinters to get to the steel beam. Enduring that minor discomfort is the toll you pay to experience the massive victory of a solid connection.
That moment, the heavy beam of mutual understanding finally clicks into place. And when you put in that hard work, the result doesn't just impact the builders, it sends a ripple effect across the entire community.
Yeah, weeks pass in the story.
Right, and the community gets involved. Isla's friends paint this simple but powerful banner reading, "Welcome across the sea."
Isla and Lucas didn't just solve their own isolation. Their private collaboration created a public good. They built a conduit for everyone else.
Which scales perfectly to any organization or family. When two leaders from historically antagonistic departments like sales and engineering finally build a functional bridge, it changes the entire culture of the company.
It gives permission to everyone else under them to cross that divide.
And then there's this beautiful culmination. Each morning, Lucas and Isla climb a lighthouse tower high above the waves, and they sign their names on a rock together.
Consider the spatial geometry of their relationship at that moment.
Yes. So what does this all mean? When Isla first walks onto the sand, she and Lucas are face-to-face, looking at each other across the blueprints.
In psychology, that's a dyadic relationship. It's direct, but it can be very confrontational. You're constantly negotiating the space between you.
But when they climb that lighthouse, that geometry shifts completely. They are no longer looking at each other across the divide.
Right, they're standing side by side, shoulder to shoulder,
Looking out at a shared horizon.
They've transitioned to a triadic relationship. The focus isn't on the friction between them anymore. It's on a shared third point. The future, the broader world they can now navigate together.
And evening falls, lantern light glows warm across the water, and music drifts from both islands.
That music drifting represents a true cultural exchange. It perfectly echoes Kokoshungsan's core belief.
That stories help us understand one another and imagine new possibilities.
Exactly. Before this, the people of Haven Isle were totally deaf to the music of the other island. The rigid structure of the engineering facilitated the fluid movement of the art.
Isla had to expand her mind to comprehend blueprints and load-bearing physics, and Lucas had to expand his mind to appreciate sunrise palettes and carved driftwood.
And by allowing those foreign elements in, their individual worlds became exponentially larger.
It really forces a reevaluation of how we handle our own periods of stagnation. Like when we feel uninspired, our instinct is usually to isolate further.
Oh, absolutely. We put on noise-canceling headphones, lock the office door, and just try to grind it out.
We view a lack of inspiration as, like, a personal failure of effort. But Dr. Howe's narrative suggests the solution isn't more effort in a vacuum.
No, the solution is finding an opposing ingredient. Healing a creative block requires looking entirely outside yourself.
So living well and living rich means taking your blank canvas, finding someone with a completely different set of tools, enduring a few splinters, and building a bridge.
And importantly, it doesn't mean abandoning who you are to become someone else. Isla doesn't put down her paintbrushes to become an engineer.
And Lucas doesn't abandon his math to become a painter. They retain their core identities. The copper is still copper, the tin is still tin.
But by enduring the heat and the splinters, they forge something far more durable. Knowledge isn't about accumulating more facts that confirm what we already believe.
Right.
It's about acquiring the capacity to synthesize the unfamiliar, which is why resources like this book are so necessary.
Definitely. And if you're looking to build more of those flexible joints into your own intellectual architecture, I strongly recommend that you explore more of these simple, accessible learning resources.
Absolutely.
You can visit kokoshungsan.net. That's spelled KOKOSHUNGSAN.net. And, if you have their digital or print editions, they integrate QR codes directly into the text.
Yeah, you just scan them, and it connects you with more books that support curiosity, compassion, and lifelong learning.
It's just a really practical way to step off your own island.
Especially in an era that heavily incentivizes us to retreat into ideological silos, just dissociating with people who validate our pre-existing blueprints.
Choosing to walk onto the sand and engage with someone completely different is honestly an act of quiet rebellion.
But it's the only way the bridge gets built.
It really is. So, as we wrap up this deep dive, take a moment to survey your own landscape.
Yeah, think about the areas in your life, your career, or your relationships where you're staring at a blank canvas.
If you are standing on your own personal haven isle right now, feeling totally depleted of inspiration, who is the engineer in your life that you need to walk up to on the sand? Whose blueprints make absolutely no sense to you? And most importantly, what bridge are you waiting to build?
Mimi found a box one day. It shimmered gold. It whispered play. She turned the crank. A tune took flight. A world of wonder in the light. The notes they danced like fireflies, painting colors in the skies. Each twirl brought a brand new tale. Aboard her ship, she set the sail. Oh, Mimi's music box so fine. It spins the stars, it bends the time. A melody, a magic key, unlocking dreams for you and me. Oh, Mimi's marvels never fade. In every note, a world is made. So crank it up and let it sing. Imagination takes its wings. A clockwork dragon crossed her way. It roared a song that saved the day. Its wings were gears, its breath a stream of harmonies and moonlight gleam. Through forests deep where whispers crept and dreamy giants quietly slept. Each tune revealed a secret door. They'd never been to worlds like before. Oh, Mimi's music box so fine. It spins the stars, it bends the time. A melody, a magic key, unlocking dreams for you and me. Oh, Mimi's marvels never fade. In every note, a world is made. So crank it up and let it sing. Imagination takes its wings. But the fox it spoke, you must believe, to taste the wonders I can weave. With each drum, your mind will grow. Through every sound, you'll learn